And we are live. Welcome to Broadjam Google Plus Hangout today. I am the Artist Services Manager and Licensing Director at Broadjam, Mike Huberty, and with us is also the esteemed...
I am the CEO and founder of Broadjam. I'm Roy Elkins.
Yes.
I thought we forgot our titles for a second there.
Okay, so Roy is the boss, and I'm the guy that helps out with music licensing and stuff like that, and also tries to find opportunities for artists and everything. And we're here to take your questions. And let me invite a few more people to hang out now that we are live here. But we're going to start by taking some questions from people. And also feel free to join in. We have a Q&A section on the Hangout page, and I can show you where it is, anybody watching. Let me share my screen real quick, and I'll show you what to do on the Q&A page. Grab the screen share. Okay. So you'll see if you're in the Hangout, it's got a Q&A section right there. And then the Q&A page. Hit that Ask a New Question button that I'm circling right here. Screen share. And ask a question. Okay. So I hope that helped, and then I'll turn off the screen share so we can go back. And there we are. So that's how you can ask a question. Feel free to do that, or you can write a comment in the Google event. But Roy and I are going to start it out. We're going to talk about a question from one of our members who is using our music licensing submission mechanism. And remember, your questions don't always have to be music licensing. They can be about anything. We're going to talk about some of the other fun stuff Broadjam does today. But, okay, Roy, this is a question from David. He's a composer, singer-songwriter from Hungary, and he submitted a few of his tracks to different opportunities he's found on the site. Yep. Ones that he thinks are pretty serious. They were for ones with high budgets, and $35,000 is one of the budgets. And they said, he said he recorded specific songs for them. Anyway, now when he finally heard the song, heard the song that won. He didn't get picked. Yeah. He felt like it wasn't that high quality of a song. It wasn't as complete. It was more like a simple loop than what he had created, which was a complex kind of song. So I was thinking about how we should, how we can answer that, and let's kind of. I think a lot of people have that same question. Why is this song picked and not mine? And maybe we can get to that real quick. It's
a good question and a common question. I wish I could get inside the mind of the provider and give you a specific answer, because I don't know why it was picked or why it wasn't picked. But what I can say is that sometimes simpler is better. Sometimes if we overwrite, if it is too complex, it can get in the way of the dialogue. It can get in the way of the show. So if the argument, I think you had mentioned before we went on air here, Mike, that he felt that his song was really complex. That's right. And a simpler song got picked. And David, I got to tell you, I've heard stuff picked that I just shake my head and I say, I have no idea why. It's a little more than a kick and a snare drum and a bass guitar, and it's picked. And then I hear these great arrangements that people took a lot of time for, and they're not picked. And on the other hand, there are times when they're asking for a simple arrangement, and something completely different gets picked. All I can say is just try to understand, try to read the brief, and really understand what they're looking for. And the other thing, too, is that if a certain type of song is getting picked over and over again, and maybe you ought to try writing something like that. You know, we've all been influenced by different people in our lives, and we write in a certain way because of what we've heard. You know, start listening to some of the songs over and over again that are getting picked, and see if you can, I'm not saying plagiarize it, but just write something similar. And that may improve your odds. Now, obviously, that's not what you want to do. We all want to write from the heart. We don't want to write to try to sound like something else. But, you know, it is a business, and these guys are picking songs for a specific reason. Sometimes I don't have a clue. Sometimes I think they're right on. So I know that probably doesn't answer your specific question about your music, but in general, that is the answer. And, Mike, do you have anything to add, Mike?
Oh, I mean, I think that's dead on, Roy. But I would add to it that think about, you said that the music shouldn't be interfering with the dialogue in a scene.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to a 30-second to a 2-minute commercial, that's even more so. Unless they're going to be, you know, unless the music is the focus point, like it's a jingle or something, or, you know, like a Mentos commercial where all of a sudden it's a song and then they say one line, one tag at the end. A lot of times there's going to be talking throughout the commercial. So sometimes those simple loops, the fact is it just sounds good with dialogue. And sometimes providers, like what they're thinking, and when they're listening to it, they're trying to think, okay, what sounds good with this commercial? What can sound really good under the dialogue? That's why simple stuff works sometimes. And we try to get the descriptions as close as we can, and we try to use the examples that the provider gives us. But a lot of times it's like asking people to describe their next favorite song. I think that was something we've heard before. It's like, you know, you can say that, you know, it's probably going to be a rock song. I mean, if you like rock or hip-hop, you say it's probably going to be a rock song or a blues song if those are your favorite genres. Might be a female vocal or male vocal if those are your favorite types of singers. Might have a guitar solo or a piano solo if that's your favorite type of instrument. But to describe in depth what your next favorite song is going to be is really hard. We try to do it the best we can by saying, what do you think would work in that situation?
Yeah,
and
that's
give an example of it.
Yeah, you know, the other thing I think you might want to think about too is that, you know, if they're looking for, you know, music for television, they're probably not looking for an instrumental. They're looking for a music bed. There's a difference between an instrumental and a bed. You know, even though if there's not words in the song, if there's a strong melody, that will nix it no matter how good the quality. So a music bed is much different than an instrumental. You know, having a strong bed that's rich and thick or simple and clean is different than an instrumental that you know, that you can hum the melody, because that will definitely, as Mike says, just reiterate kind of what I was saying, that it will get in the way of the dialogue. And I think that's a mistake we make sometimes when we see that they're looking for a bed or looking for background music for film and TV. That doesn't mean they're looking for a melody. That usually means they're looking for chords that sound great together.
Okay, good. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so David from Hungary, I hope that we answered some of your questions, and if you have any more, you can always just send us an email or respond, and we're very happy to listen to that. Okay, let's check.
Let's just offer to David too. David, send me an email, roy@broadjam.com, and let me take a listen, and I'll give you my thoughts on it. All right, and I do have a blog on linernotes.com where I review music quite often. So you know, if you want to look at that blog, and you can get some of my perspectives. But you know, I'm just one guy in the business. So send me an email, roy@broadjam.com, and I'll listen to your stuff and give you a brief. You know, I can give you my thoughts. Best of luck. And by the way, it's so cool that he's from Hungary.
Yeah, I was going to say that's it's always exciting to see somebody from another country.
Yeah,
I mean, and not just a non-native English speaker is exciting too.
We've got people from Minnesota on the site.
Yeah, well, strange enough. Strange enough. You know, here's something I wanted to bring up, and this is a kind of a promotional. It's not necessarily a music licensing thing, but Roy, I took your place at the California Music Industry Summit this week.
I'm sorry I couldn't go. That I really wanted to go that this year, but talk a little about that.
But it was really fun, and it was nice to meet some different musicians from the Bay Area, and to talk about what they needed and to try to help them find next actions for their career and things that they could do right away. And one thing really came up more than anything else, and I feel like talking about this and brainstorming a little bit might be really helpful for Broadjam artists. But the biggest thing that people had a question about was, well, how do I stand out? Or what are the steps I take to start creating a buzz around my music? Because a lot of the things that we were talking about in the professional music field, when you started being like, well, once you get picked for a show, and then once you start opening for a band, and then once you're on tour, and a lot of these guys, the tour thing, great. If they picked for a show, great. But these guys still needed to get that local buzz, even get people to start coming to their shows locally. And I thought that's something. I mean, that's something you could talk for weeks about that. But just the basics of that for some of our members. And I know you talk about that sometimes, right? In your presentations and the keynotes and stuff you do. I just thought we could brainstorm it for a little bit because I really saw people didn't just need the advanced, music licensing 301 questions. They had, how do I get out of the basement 101 questions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can probably address the live stuff much better than I can, Mike, because I haven't played live since 1983. So things have changed a little since then. But from an online perspective, in my first rule is this: you have to fill out your metadata. Whether you're on Broadjam or Sonic Bids or Reverb Nation or wherever you are, everybody from fans to agencies to music industry folks to just friends on the site will search for, I'm looking for a country song, I'm looking for blah, blah, blah. And if that data isn't filled out, you're just not going to be found. And I've had a couple people send notes, well, it just takes too long to do that. For me, that's kind of like saying, well, it just takes too long to do a good mix, or it takes too long to put that good lead guitar solo in there. This is what you do now. Years ago, you used to have a really nice album cover, and you did all this stuff. And if you're putting out CDs, you still got to have that. But if you're just putting music up on the web and that's it, you don't have to worry about the other those types of marketing things. You got to fill out that data. The second thing is, no matter what site you're on, get connected with as many other writers and musicians as you possibly can. And I think it's really important, and I've probably said this in this Hangout several times, it's really important to write with other people. And a few years ago, I did a little research, and I pulled a list from somewhere, and it was the top 100 songs, whatever this list was. It was rock songs or Billboard songs or something. And of the top 100, 91 of them were co-written. 3 of them were written by George Harrison. So if your name isn't George Harrison, you got a 6% chance of having a song that makes this list. But you can pull a list from anywhere, and 80 of the 100 songs are co-written. And it's really there's another reason. If you've written with 50 different folks, if you've written a song with 50 different people, you now have 50 people pushing your music. So it expands your network, and that is so key on the web. And I know there's a lot of songs I've written, I just don't want to write it with somebody else. I want to write it myself. That's fine. But it's really important that you expand that network, that you fill out that data, that you're encouraging, that you're really helping other musicians as well. That's what the web is about, and that's really what social communities are about, like ours or Facebook or any of the other ones, is just trying to contribute to somebody else's success. So that's my take on it. Mike, you probably have some opinions as well.
Well, of opinions, yes, I have lots. Whether they're right, but starting with that, Roy, I mean, that quote you have, I mean, about the songwriting and the top 100 songs of all time is just, it's number one, it's an awesome quote, and it's dead on, because collaboration really is key, and building that, but you're never going to build it just purely on your own. Nobody built anything purely on their. No man is an island.
Yeah.
And that is nowhere more true than music. You know how they break rappers, right? and hip hop artists is they feature them on album. I mean, they feature them on songs by popular artists before they have their own album. You know, Snoop was featured on Dr. Dre's Chronic album long before Snoop had his own record, and everybody knew who he was. By the time he put out the record, it's like, of course, well, I heard him on Dre's album, and now they wanted to hear it. And in the hip hop community, that's been something that's happened for a long time, and they still do it. But I mean, collaboration and helping build that buzz by working with other people. That's, I mean, I would say that's your next action. Find, you know, you can just, if you want to find the best rock writer on Broadjam, not necessarily the best, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be the best person. They have the #1 song. Go contact them. Say, I think your song is awesome. I would like to write a song with you. Let's do something online. Let's do something on the web. Starting that collaboration is the key to building it. You guys do something. You guys do a song together, then that person's going to be putting it on their account, all of their different places on the web, and you have 2 people working your song instead of 1. So I love that idea for a next action, and we can start talking the way to do it, you know, the way to build buzz on your live shows, the way to start connecting with college radio. I mean, we can bring all that stuff up later, but I really do like that as a next action. Meet some people and collaborate. Now we have a couple of questions in the Q&A, so let's go to there. Roy, do you see that in the Q&A?
Yes, it does the metadata from Broadjam follow the song. What we do is we, you know, when you include the metadata in the MP3, we strip that out and then we put our own back in. And I'm going to ask if any of our technical guys are watching to come and correct me on that and still see if we do that. But basically, all of our data doesn't follow the song. Just, you know, MP3s can only accommodate a certain amount of data. But we try to make it as accurate as if we send it along, we want it to be reflective of what's on Broadjam. So, but the main reason you want metadata around, listed in your song files is for search reasons. Because when Google comes and indexes our site or other sites, they're looking at all that data. So when somebody's searching for, you know, German polka music with a rapper over the top of it, if that's what you're doing, you're going to, you know, you're going to be found in a Google search. So that's the main reason you want to do the metadata, so you can be found.
Yeah, #1. I mean, plus when if somebody's emailing an MP3 around, I mean, any of that stuff, you want your, you know, digital files are easier to get lost even than CDs were easy to get lost, and tapes were easy to get lost. So do that, and I know that, I mean, I've done that myself with my own songs. I've downloaded them from Broadjam and sent them on, and yes, it does keep the artist, the title, and the genre. So we do strip that. So Rockchild56, you know, your original data is not going to be on there, but the stuff that you put on Broadjam will be when people download the MP3. And
go ahead, Mike. Sorry, I didn't mean.
Well, I was just going to say, and then when people want to do more complex things, I mean, like iTunes, like so your M4A from iTunes, if you do your metadata in there, the M4A will take things like the cover. You know, the M4A will take extensive amounts of metadata, but you're sending a M4A file, which is not as compatible as an MP3 file. So as long as you stick it with, you know, in an MP3 format, you're usually fine. Roy, you have one more thing to say about that one?
Well, I saw this question too. It was along the metadata line. Guy's asking, I think it's Jonathan Ditto. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. Is asking the question that one of his songs is charting in the hip hop genre, and he doesn't think it's a hip hop song. Basically, we look at how you categorize the song, and if somehow it got categorized in hip hop, we don't put any of that data in. Now maybe it clicked the wrong button, or somehow it just got changed, but it probably didn't happen on the Broadjam side because we don't enter any of the data. So go back and look at your song, edit your song data, and change it to what you think is appropriate. Because the other thing too, I'm glad he brought this up, because the last thing you want is a song in a top 10 anywhere that is not in that genre. You're not going to make many friends if that's the case. So make sure your music is in the right genre. And sometimes that's really hard for us to choose the right genre. Especially if you really, if your influences are from rock and you happen to sound country. Sometimes we think our music sounds like our influences, and it doesn't. The best way to determine what a song's, what the genre or the style of the song is listen to your friends. What are your friends telling you this sounds like? That's probably what it is. Or listen to the people coming to your shows. Or ask a few people online, what genre is this song? So, very good question, Jonathan. Appreciate that. Just go in and change your genre.
Or better yet, ask a Broadjam Pro reviewer who it sounds like. Because
that's a good point. Yeah.
That's one of the things in the Pro Reviews that is the first question on the Pro Reviews is, what artist does this song most remind you of? Because we want to help guys like you, Jonathan, determine, who could be a fan of that song. And everybody hates to be pigeonholed, and everybody hates to be categorized. But in the world of commerce and music, sometimes it's just the easiest way to, if you look at the spectrum from A to Z, do you fit in M or do you fit in P, right? Or you fit in D? And if you look at that spectrum, when people are, if they like all the bands that fit in P, and you're near P, that's where you want to be found. And it's not about categorizing or pigeonholing your music. It really is just about trying to find the audience you can in the fastest way possible. And a lot of that is by comparing yourselves to artists who were already famous. Thank you for that question, Jonathan. That was a good one. And
I see the comment there from Donovan Tucker. Yeah, he makes a comment about he says that he's with us on the collaboration. And I got to tell you, I just reviewed one of his songs that he wrote with Mike Gladstone yesterday. And very rarely does an instrumental song, this is not a music bed, it was an instrumental song. Very rarely do instrumentals stand out to anybody. There was one great instrumental that the reason I got into synths, there were two reasons. Emerson, Lake and Palmer's Lucky Man, and because of the synth solo in the middle, and Edgar Winter's Frankenstein. That was an instrumental that was really popular. If you guys haven't checked this out yet, go down Liner Notes and check out Donovan Tucker and Mike Gladstone's song Yellow King. And I reviewed it yesterday, and it's one of the most awesome instrumental songs I have heard. If I had to pick 5 in my lifetime that I've heard, this is one of them. And it is the guitar playing on this is just stellar. The production is stellar, and this is what a collaboration does. Is it took both of these guys to another level. Because my guess is it probably went back and forth a couple of times, and they really pushed each other to a different level. So congratulations, Don, on that. Anyway, I could talk about that song for 20 minutes because I'm still buzzing about it, and I've had a lot of friends send a note to me back on it after I posted it on Facebook yesterday. A lot of people that like that song. So sorry, I got sidetracked. And
no, that's okay. Yeah, I think Yellow King. That's. I mean, I wonder if it's a newer one. If they got the name for that from True Detective, which I've seen a whole bunch of instrumentals from people on our site be inspired by this TV show True Detective. Like there's a place called Carcosa in the TV show, and there's been songs named Carcosa uploaded to the site. And the Yellow King stuff. Yellow King is a character. I mean, it's a character in a book from 1895, but it's also a character in this TV show True Detective, which also had some of the most exciting music supervision. Ry Cooder was the music supervisor. No, T-Bone Burnett. T-Bone Burnett was the music supervisor for True Detective. So they weren't screwing around when they did that. So Roy, see it. That's my recommendation to you, sir.
What is it? What's the name of it? True Detective?
True Detective.
All right, I haven't seen that one yet.
It's really worthwhile. Okay.
It's not on Matlock's on, is it?
No, it's it's on a little after. It's on a little after. Okay, thank you for that question, Don, and good job on the Yellow King. We got a couple more questions here. We're going. Okay, Jonathan Ditto again. I got contacted to be on a great catalog through Broadjam Film and TV. Congratulations, Jonathan. Yeah, it's exciting when you get selected. They're asking for these huge files. Do you know of a music software file converter that people use in the industry that gives them the type of files needed other than MP3 or M4V?
Well, probably, you know, use the iTunes converter. That's probably the most commonly used. There's all kinds of them. But if they want huge files, send it to them. I mean, if they want you to stand on your head and juggle a planner on your feet, you know, that's what I would do. It brings up kind of a follow-up to that. When you're mixing a song, make sure, and you get it done, make sure you have the WAV file ready to go. You have the MP3s ready to go. You have the bed, if it's got a vocal on it, remove the vocal and just have the bed ready to go. If you can do a 30-second mix of the best part, have that ready to go. So when somebody's asking you for something, if you get signed or you get a deal, you don't want to have to go back into the studio and recut. Have it all ready to go so you can just email it to them or Dropbox it to them. So if they want big files, get them big files.
And for recommendations, I would say, do you have, I mean, if you've already converted it to MP3 and stuff, and when you got it from the studio, chances are you got a version on the CD or a full lossless version, a WAV or an AIFF file. And if you don't have that on your computer right now, that's okay. If you have a CD, go into iTunes or whatever and just rip that from your own CD. In iTunes, it's under Preferences. You can select the kind of conversion when it rips a CD. You can select it to go to AIFF, I believe, WAV. You can have it go straight to MP3 or M4A, whatever. You can do that straight from iTunes as a converter. And you know, I hate always recommending Apple products for things, but that's, if you have a Mac, that's the fastest way. On PC, it's a fast and free way. I think Audacity too. You can rip CDs from Audacity. But that would be the fastest way to get that kind of large file, Jonathan, is just rip it from the CD if you don't already have it. You can convert it back from MP3, but the CD is going to be lossless quality. Start with that. Okay.
Yeah, and I think probably if part of that too, Mike, is because sometimes connections are a little sketchy, and when you have to upload giant files, because the connection to your home is or the upload process is only as good as the connection that comes into your home or out of your home. So, I can understand why that could be a problem, but just try to have everything ready when the song is done, when it's done being mixed. So you're ready to go and you can be responsive and get it to the provider immediately.
That's right. And almost any production house that you work with now, like Roy, when you were saying have the instrumental version ready, have the one with a guitar solo ready, right. Almost any production house right now, because this, I mean, licensing music beds and stuff is such a major part of the industry now, everybody's going to do it. If you say, I'd like an instrumental version, nobody's going to balk. Even if it's an extra hour in the studio or something, they're going to be like, of course, that's just the way the industry goes. So you don't have to be afraid to ask for that anymore. If you're asking a month later and they got to take out, the half-inch tape and you record on analog, that might be a big deal. But just take care of that.
Yeah.
And also, if you're still recording an analog, my hat's off to you. Probably get a great warm sound, and you're probably spending a lot of money. Okay. Thank you, John.
I'm doing a lot of editing.
Yes. Oh. The first time that I saw somebody actually cut, the half-inch tape and with use marker, I'm like, you don't put a marker on that. That's my song. He's like, no, don't worry about it. It's magic onto itself.
Yeah.
Okay, Don's got another one quick. Is there a way to protect an instrumental from being used by someone else who could download the song and retitle it as their own, other than doing an SR?
Well, the best way, Donovan, is just to copyright it, and that's what he's talking about, SR. I assume that he's
the SR form.
Recording, yeah, a form SR or a form PA. I would just copyright it. there's a couple of sites that say that if you upload to them, and I think there's one it's very legitimate. I like the site a lot, and I happen to know the founder. They're both from the Nashville area, and they're kind of been around the music industry a lot. It's called MyWorks, WERX.com, and good guys that started this, and we're probably going to do something with them here shortly. But you can upload your songs to them, and they actually will put it in a vault, and they say they they kind of store it away and lock it up so you can prove it later if somebody's taken it. I always say just go to the step and just get it copyright, especially on that song I heard yesterday, because that's a great song. But go the extra mile, or not the extra mile. Just take the extra time and get it copyrighted. That's what I would do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I was a master writer user for a long time, and that had a song vault or song guard feature.
Yeah.
With that, and you could kind of send it off, or not that I'm worried anybody's ever going to try to steal any of my songs.
Yeah.
But what I do think though is that there's different places on the net that you can do that. But like Roy said, go in there and copyright it. Like that's the one way. If you got something good, take care of it to get your mind off it, because even with these other sites, if they've got better like there's a copyright with the government is something that it doesn't matter how good the lawyer is.
Yeah.
You got it. So I would stick to that.
But by the way, it's never really been challenged yet legally, this stuff, that to my knowledge. So I think until there's a legal precedent, and there may be, I just may not be aware of it, but until we're sure of it, copyright. Maybe, and by the way, you don't have to copyright one song at a time. You can copyright packages. I think it's up to 10 or 20 songs for what, $30 or $40 now. So you can copyright it like it's a play. Include 10 songs, and they're all, any portion of that collection is copyrighted.
Well, Roy, and I know we can't probably say which song this is, but before I was with Broadjam, wasn't there there was a copyright issue when they actually had to come and they Broadjam servers? There's
been a couple of issues, and I don't know where the case is right now, but we had a guy years ago write a song and post it on Broadjam, and it must have been 2003, 2004. In about 2009, 8 or 9, there was a major hit song by a major band, and in the pop world, pop kind of hip hop world, slightly hip hop, more pop, and just a couple years back, we got a message from the court. They were asking if this other song was uploaded, so we took a listen to the hit. And we listened to the original song that was uploaded. My God, they're almost identical. We'll come to find out there was a connection between a personal connection between 2 or 3 people between point A and point B. And now whether the court used our servers to prove that song was actually written by the guy who posted it on our site, because we don't know where he got that song. It could have been the original pop star song that was written 10 or 15 years ago. This has actually happened a few times, but this one song was a #1 song and a huge hit in like 2008 or 9 that the court came to us and asked us if it was posted on our site years earlier. It wasn't that exact song, but it was a very, very similar melody and lyric. So who knows? Maybe someday that the Copyright Office will be obsolete, and sites like ours will hold up in court.
So there is a precedent for it, but like you said, there's court dates for it. There's court dates and lawyers and all that, which could be just taken care of by a package in the mail. Or I don't even think. Last time I copyrighted something, or I usually have other people copyright things because I hate the paperwork. But you can do it all online now.
Mm-hmm.
It's so different than having to send all that stuff and hours of paperwork. Okay, so thank you, Don.
Mike, let me interrupt for a second. When we first started the site, this is how far behind the government can be at times. It was $100 to copyright a song online, and it was like $30 to copyright a collection. And so we actually had a feature when we first started out where you could submit, and when we like no one was doing it, and so I think the government is now caught up. But it's just amazing sometimes that the government is a little behind us at times.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. So thank you for that, Jonathan. Thank you for that, Jonathan.
It's Jonathan and Donovan.
Donovan and Jonathan. That's right. Okay. So real quick, Rockchild 56 also came in, and this one's been sitting around for a little bit, so I want to get to it. Production. They really don't want songs, but production music, and that comes from when we were talking about our original question of production music versus like songs that might get in the way of dialogue and stuff like that. And so I think that's a good question. And Roy, you want to start with that answer?
Well, I don't. I mean, I think most libraries probably want production music, but don't assume that. A lot of times at the beginning of a show, or especially at the end of a drama, there's a great pop song, and usually it's an alt rock song with a sultry female or even a male singer. And if you listen to a lot of these dramas, those last songs are very, very powerful. So don't always assume that's all they want. I would say most of the time that's what they want.
And I would say that the feedback that I've been getting is that they do want some kind of production music, and they want it to fit easily into a dialogue scene, but they also want some stuff with personality, and that's particularly MTV and Discovery. That's something they've been wanting more, less library type stuff. I mean, they go into libraries, but what they want are actual songs from people in bands. They want that kind of personality for their music. They did the electronic thing and the electronic soundtracks for a really long time from guys who were just straight up, they just composed for soundtracks and stuff, and they're trying to bring more personality to it. That being said, they also want that personality to fit easily into the music beds that that they have for their shows. Number one. And I guess my second point that I wanted to get to for that is, like Roy said, the sultry singers and the alt rock songs at the end of shows, Americana songs at the end of shows, like
true.
Folk, beautiful. Like if you've got a song that you think is beautiful, that's the kind of stuff. I mean, look at half the episodes of The Walking Dead the #1 drama on cable last season. Ended in a folky, beautiful kind of montage at the end. And montage scenes are always going to want that kind of really stirring, pretty music. Sometimes with guitar solos. Sometimes they want that beauty with a guitar solo if it's more of an action-oriented show. But a lot of shows, they do want that beautiful song at the end. So I'd say production music, yes. Production music with personality, even more. Songs that are poetic and beautiful and have melodies that soar and inspire emotion, most of all. But that's a ticket. That's a ticket there. Thank you, Rockchild. Thank you, Rockchild. Okay. Troy Castellano from Minneapolis, Minnesota.
Speaking of hot guitar players, one of my longtime favorites on Broadjam, awesome guitar player as well. Troy, you and Donovan ought to do something together, and you and Mike Gladstone, maybe the three of you could do something together. That would be an awesome project.
I would pay to see that. Troy, also send me an email next time you're playing in Minneapolis. I'm here all the time, and I want to watch you play live one of these days. I still haven't seen you play live. But the question from Troy. Oh, actually, this is from Jonathan. He said he sounds like the Lumineers. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Jonathan, you sound like Lumineers. That's cool. Troy, how many listing sites do your buyers usually list on? Do you offer them any incentives to list on Broadjam only?
That's a good question. I mean, one of the things that's hard is for us to get an exclusive. We We have had exclusive listings, and Mike can probably address that more because he's much closer to it. But one of the things that we do is we pay the supervisors to listen to every single submission. And I don't know, there may be another site that does that, but every single submission that comes into our system has got to be listened to, or we don't pay them. So their incentive to do business with us is high. And we want to make sure that everybody that submits gets heard. Now, they don't have to listen to the whole song, like we said so many times on these Hangouts and you know, in various places, that anybody probably that's on this Hangout right now knows in 10 or 20 seconds, can the singer sing? Can the guitar player play? Are the guitars in tune? Is the mix good? Is the meter on? You know, so they don't have to listen to the whole song. But every single song gets a shot when you submit on Broadjam. We have found, Troy, in the past, and Mike, maybe you can address this too, and I'll shut up in a second here, that we've seen listings similar on another site, and if we do, we contact the provider to make sure that it's not a duplicate listing. Obviously, we cannot monitor every site out there, but we do pay our providers. That keeps them pretty loyal to us. So we think most of them are, you know, pretty much exclusive with us, but some of them do post on other sites. I don't know if they post the same listings. Mike, can you address that?
Well, definitely. I don't know of anyone that posts the exact same listings on a different site. I mean, there may be certain libraries that accept, you know, they'll take music from one area and then they'll also take music from us. But as far as if somebody's looking for a pitch, like they're like, hey, I need a song for a trailer that, you know, I'm going to pitch to this weekend or something like that, that's if we see them do that on a different site, we usually say like, we'll ask them to take it down. And I've done that several times. We want to make sure that people aren't double submitting. You know, I mean, and we definitely do have some exclusives. Anything that we do that's for the Discovery Channel stuff, that's Broadjam only. Like nobody else has that kind of, and that's going into a whole bunch of new reality show things. I mean, our deal with that is a Broadjam exclusive, and getting into those particular networks is us only. But we absolutely pay attention to that. Like we know that some of our providers have listings on other sites, but they're usually general listings. Like if they're on Music X-Ray, it's just a send to this person kind of thing, and we're okay with that. But if somebody's going to be posting the exact same thing on our site and somebody else, we'll ask them to take it down. And when we've seen that maybe with a new provider or something like that, they've had no problem with it anytime. I mean, everybody wants to get along. Everybody wants to find great music, and everybody wants to make a little money doing it. And so just saying that and being reasonable, I'd say that how many listing sites our buyers usually list on, if it's these specific kind of opportunities, one, and that's ours.
I see that Paul put up clarification on copyright. I'm going to thank you, Paul, for doing this. By the way, Paul's an awesome producer out of Las Vegas, and his wife, CJ, is just an incredible singer-songwriter. So if anybody's looking for somebody to do a good production job on their products, Paul is a great guy. But there's a point of clarification here, and we're glad you brought this up, Paul, that a song is copyrighted as soon as it's written. The reason you register it with a copyright office, as Paul's suggesting here, is so you can prove it later. So technically, anytime you create something, even if it's just a doodle on a notepad, that's legally copyrighted. It's proving it is the problem, and the best way to prove it later is to have a form from the Copyright Office that says you own it. Thank you for that, Paul. Appreciate that.
Okay. Yes. Oh, Troy just said he's moving to Nashville in July. Awesome, Troy. Good luck to you.
Yeah. Let me know when you do, Troy. Just let me. I get down there a couple times a year, and we'll hang.
You guys can put on your cowboy hats and go to the Bluebird.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I'll be there the third week in July for the Summer NAMM show. So,
there you go.
When are you moving, Troy? Go ahead and post it. Sorry, we don't mean to sidetrack the conversation.
That's okay. Rockchild56 also asked, okay, he's back on the production music or songs, and I can probably answer this question the best because I'm the guy usually writing the list. Well, always writing the listings. How do you know the difference when they want in a listing production music or songs? And if it says underscore or it says background music, I mean, then don't bother sending something with a really strong melody. But if it says tracks or songs or even soundtracks and stuff, a lot of times they'll say if they just want a loop or just a bed. And we'd had a listing not too long ago that was just 4 music beds. But I would say you're safe to send a song. If it says underscore, look at that background music, look at that elevator music, look at that. You know, they don't need a really pronounced melody. But anything that says they'll actually take a song means they're actually looking for something where, you know, there's a melody and maybe something you can sing along to. And surprisingly, a lot of commercials are like that. I mean, if you watch, have you guys seen the new Google Play commercial? Roy, have you seen the new Google Play commercial?
No, I haven't.
Okay. If this, I pull it up on YouTube right now. You can't do that in Hangouts on air. You can do it in regular Hangouts. I pull it up on YouTube because there's some song that's so catchy. Every time I hear it, I get super excited when I hear it. And it's like a techno song or whatever. But like that's the example of it's a real, and you listen to it, it's a real song used in a commercial. Check that out. If you ever heard the song 1901 by Phoenix, that was in like 100 commercials a couple years back. Anything, you know, a good example, anything by Moby. I mean, Moby's been used in 1,000 commercials, and those are real songs. So there are songs that work perfectly in commercials, and I just wanted to get that out to you. Senor Rockchild66.
I'll elaborate on that a little, Mike. There was a song written by Richard Goddard in the late '60s called "I Want Candy." And if you're going to write for commercials and you're going to try to get a song placed in commercials, think about that song, because you can replace the word candy with just about anything. And I think just about every product line in the world has used, somebody in the car industry has used that song. I mean, in every industry has used that song for commercial use. So if you're thinking about composing for advertising, that's a great example. And like Mike says, Moby is a great example for the instrumental tracks. By the way, Richard Goddard is also the founder of The Orchard, which is a big distribution company.
Cool.
And a good friend of ours, by the way.
Right on. So thanks for that, Rockchild. And also, we have a new question from Matt Volpe. He's a bass player who loves to collaborate with different artists. Is there a way through Broadjam to find people to collaborate with digitally? Thanks for your time. That's a good question.
That's a great question. If you go to the search engine, search artist, you'll see a little box. If you're logged in, you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, the search mechanisms will come up. And I'm not looking at the screen right now, so I'm doing this from memory. And you can search by, if you're looking for guitar players you want to collaborate with, you can put the city and state in there. And so, I mean, it's an awesome question, and I wish more people use that, because you can certainly find people in your local area or around the country that you can collaborate with. And
yeah,
go ahead, Mike.
While you say that, Roy, I'm going to screen share real quick.
Oh, okay. All right. Yep.
On the Broadjam site. So now people should be able to see.
Yeah, just go ahead and hit the little search mechanism there, the little spyglass there.
Yeah, and so artists, I mean, you could
look, or just hit the spyglass. It'll take you there, I think. Yeah, and then on the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see some boxes come up there where it says primary instrument, country, city, state, and you can find virtually anybody in your local market or internationally if you want. And you know, just to elaborate, it's a great question, man. I appreciate this question, because if I had to pick, if I can be a little selfish here for a second, if I had to pick my personal biggest reward from Broadjam, it's not all the licensing, it's not the hosting or any of the stuff we do. It's when I see a couple people get together and make great music and they use our platform to connect. You know, again, I'll talk about Donovan and Mike Gladstone, Liz Miller and Margaret McClure, and just hundreds, if not thousands, of people who have connected on our site. And there's nothing I like better than to see that, because it just is really rewarding when you see people making great music because of this community that is so supportive of each other. It's a great question.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so, like, if you look at, I looked up artist, primary instrument, rapper, Wisconsin. And, you know, there's a bunch of just rappers, some guys without photos, but plenty of people with photos. And you just jump on, and, you know, like Dumate, I'm used to online, you know, jump on it, and then you just have to make a connection.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just you jump in, and you connect with that artist, and then that's it.
Yeah.
You know, you become their friend and talk to them and all that kind of stuff. And let me jump out of screen share here.
Hey, Mike, don't jump out yet there. Go over to endorsements. While we're right there, this is the other thing I'd like to encourage folks to do is, if you really think somebody's good, go to the endorsements button and endorse them. And tell them, you know, this tells them that, you know, you really think they're pretty good. In this case, I guess these guys don't have any endorsements, but you know, you can go in there, you can click, you know, click one of these boxes here, perform live. I've seen Dumate live, and they're just a phenomenal group. I don't know if they're still together yet, but
no.
But the individuals have gone on to do other great things. But you know, use that endorsement tool just to say, you know, to tell somebody, you know, you're good, and share that, share your feelings with them. I do that quite often. I'll listen to somebody and endorse them, and it's a great feature on our site.
See, we can endorse Roy right here for I've heard him play.
I don't know what the hell you're going to endorse me for, but
keyboard and piano. That's the kind of thing. And you go through, and Roy, obviously, some other guys think you're a pretty good player.
They must be deaf.
Yeah, don't trust them. Anyway, yeah. Let me jump out of screen share here, but. That's exactly the type of thing that you can jump in, endorse people, collaborate, and find other people on the site super quick, and just write a song with them. Like, go in and write a song. It's, you know, send demos to each other and everything. Like, you know, one thing that Broadjam has is unlimited space for everybody. So you can put up your demo and somebody else can download it. You can use the transmit mechanism to send send large files back and forth securely, not through email. Collaborate that way. You can use the transmit mechanism to send stuff to radio stations without clubs, without clogging up people's email. We could do an entire workshop on why to use transmit as opposed to sending an MP3 through email or just sending a link, and we probably will sometime. That seems like hard to do.
You know, another answer to Matt's question there too is, you know, you get into the review mechanism and actually review. The number of people that have told me over the years that they've met so many great musicians by reviewing their songs. So get in the review mechanism and review some songs, and let them know what you think. You'll be surprised at how many people will respond.
Oh yeah. As soon as and that's a great way to randomly find people who are really good. Yeah. Almost everybody who gets a review, like if somebody sees you review, they're going to come in and they might connect to you. Especially if they're not any good, then don't worry about it. You know, then it's like, oh, I'm glad they never talked to me. But if they're good, and a lot of people are, then it's fun when you make a connection with another artist that's great, and especially if it's in a similar genre, because then you can find some way to work together or find some way to cross-promote something you're doing. You know, maybe you want to talk about to your email list or your social media crew or your fans or wherever about a new song you heard that's great, and then turn them on to a new band, and then they can do the same thing for you. I mean, kind of cross-promotion. I mean, businesses cross-promote all the time. Bands should think about it too, because, Roy, how many bands do you love?
How many what?
How many bands do you love?
Do I love? I'm sorry, it's a little noisy in here right now. Okay. Hey, Matt, Say that again, Mike. I'm sorry.
How many bands do you love? How many bands do you like?
Oh God, I don't know. That I really like.
Well, no, but you know what I mean, though. Like you're saying, you probably like hundreds of artists.
Oh yeah, hundreds. I mean, God, it could be in the thousands. If you asked me to name them all, I probably couldn't. But I mean, every day, I listen to 30 or 40 songs a day, and every day I just sit back in my chair because there's one song every day that just simply blows me away, and I think, why the hell isn't this person known by the world? And I wish we had more influence to make them known. Anyway, probably hundreds, if not thousands.
Right, and that's what I was trying to get at. Is that when you are fans out there, it's not like they like one brand. It's not like it's not like one artist. It's not. I suppose back in the thrash metal days when Metallica fans would turn their back on the opening band, that was just something they did because they were trying to be jerks, and it was the underground movement in the early '80s. But I mean, people when they go see bands, you ask almost everybody, well, what kind of music you like? I don't know. I like everything, right? It's not a competition. Like if one of your friends, or if you make friends with a band, they're gonna want to help you, and you can help them, and it's not gonna divvy up your fan base. Where if you help out somebody else, all those people are gonna stop liking you. So.
Yeah. Well, a couple of years ago, PGO, well, I think he still has it going on. One of our longtime members, Peter Olick, PGO is his handle on the site. He initiated what he was calling 100 by 100. He wanted to get 100 artists together to all promote each other on Facebook or through the social media channels. And he got about, 30 or 40, maybe more than that. But it takes a lot of dedication to, help push another 99 other bands, and I thought that was a great initiative because, if everybody did that to their fan base, and every one of those people had 100 fans, that, your exposure would be to 10,000 people. So it takes a lot, but that's the kind of thinking that, I love to see is that, artists helping artists. That's how Broadjam was born.
So that's great. So Matt, I hope we answered your question somewhat. We're always working on finding better ways for artists to collaborate. And okay, well, I think we're about to get going. Oh, Beth Wimmer.
Beth Wimmer from Switzerland.
Beth Wimmer from Switzerland. Yeah. She says she joined 10 years ago. A full decade ago. When living in Santa Monica, now she lives in Switzerland. Yep. Just saying hi and thanks, and she thinks the live thing is cool. So, hi, Beth.
I got to tell you, I've listened to a lot of Beth's music over the years on Broadjam, and she is one of the best singer-songwriters on our site. And thank you for logging in here, Beth. It's actually an honor. We got when you look at the people that have logged in today, Mike, it's like a who's who of the best talent on our site, and Beth is certainly one of those. She is awesome. If anybody who's listening, if you haven't checked out her music, go to her Broadjam page and check it out. It's just great songwriting, great singing.
And just on that thought, and kind of closing on that thought is, we do pay attention to the artists. Like we absolutely pay attention to the people on our site who are in the top 10, who are actively in the music licensing mechanism, who are getting plays, and who are just making friends, or who send us emails and say, listen to something. Like, this is Broadjam's a tech company and all of that, and then we create a mechanism where we connect musicians and connect music pros and then independent musicians, and we've got that aspect. But a lot of it is, too, that we are people who are interested in music. And we listen, and we try to put on events when we can, and we try to do whatever we can to actually further this thing in some way because it's fun, And so you're absolutely not faceless whatsoever. Like I've seen Beth Wimmer on the page. I've listened to her music. I've met Troy at the ASCAP Expo. We've listened. To Donovan Tucker's songs a dozen times. Featured him in the newsletter. So just and Mike Gladstone's had a #1. I think that 2 a.m. was for a long time.
Paul and CJ, Paul Borden, or CJ Borden and Paul from Vegas. Awesome. Yeah, a lot of great people on Broadjam. I wish we could get to know everybody. We just can't. That's the bummer part of our job. But the good part of our job, we get to listen to a lot of great music.
So that is, it's absolutely something that we think about. Okay, thank you, Beth. And then one quick question. Adam Avery, speaking of talented people, right?
Yeah, another one. Yeah.
Adam wants to check in on the six-pack this year. And Adam, it's underway. We just were talking about it on Tuesday, and we're finalizing things right now.
Oh, and we got a real special surprise coming in the six-pack this year too.
So
awesome prizes that we've ever had.
So we are definitely going to be doing. This is also with the 10th anniversary of the six-pack, a different kind of contest. Anyway, you're going to find out. But we are going to be having the big Broadjam song competition this year. No worries. You'll see that, and I look forward to hearing whatever you write for it, Adam, because I bet it's going to be good. All right. Yeah. Everybody, want to thank you for hanging out with us today. I'm Mike from Broadjam Licensing and Artist Services and contests and that kind of thing, and with...
I'm Roy, and remember, you guys, you can always send an email to me at roy@broadjam.com. Anytime, and to Mike at broadjam.com, or Mike H, I guess it is, at broadjam.com.
No, Mike, I've graduated to being the only Mike here now.
Oh, okay. All right. So you can send an email to us anytime. You know, I want to be. We're always accessible. Always accessible. We may not get back right away, but we will always get back to you. And we really appreciate your input here.
So thank you very much for hanging out with us today. We'll do this again in a couple of weeks. Everybody have an awesome weekend, and check your emails. We got a whole bunch of, we're going to have some new stuff coming to you in the next couple of days. So, guys, have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.
Hey, guys.
Bye.